Hello everyone. So ChatGPT has been all over the internet for the past few weeks. And I'm sure you all know about this tool. So I decided to come up with another tutorial where we will be building a clone of ChatGPT somewhat like this. Uh, what we will be using is we will be using the API provided by this OpenAI.com. Well, they actually have a bunch of AI trained models that you can use to create a lot of different products, and I will be definitely creating more videos on this topic. But for now on, let's take a glimpse of what we will be building today. So this is our ChatGPT clone. It's very simple and basic, as you can see with the interface. So if I ask it any question, what is a solar system, let's see if it can answer this question. So yes, it does answer this question. And you can ask it any question like suggest me a place to go for a holiday. So let's see if it can answer this. Yeah, so it does suggested me a place. So it not only replies these kind of questions, but it can solve some real world coding questions as well. So if I ask it to write a program to calculate sum of two numbers in Python, let's see if it can answer this question. So well, it does answer this question. Yeah, actually the answer is incomplete, or you can say half. The reason being, there are some setups in our code like this one, max token 64. So this limits the words that it can return, which is why you see there is a half answer. And if we increase this to like 200 or so and ask this same question again, yeah, this time it does return full answer. Okay, so let's build this from scratch. I will close this up and go to the folder. I'll close these tabs as well. For this you need to open your VS Code or any other code editor in an empty folder, and we need to create two root folders basically. One is for front end, we can name it as client, and the second will be our server. In the server folder we need to open our terminal first, and let's go to server, clear this up, and let's initialize an empty node project. So npm init -y, this will initialize a project. Now what we need to do is, there is a link in the description that will help you get to our GitHub page. So I have actually uploaded the code here. You can just go to the server folder, and in the server folder go to the package.json file, and in the file you see there is a field called dependencies. Just copy this one and paste it here below the license. Give a comma and paste right here. We need to copy these two lines of code as well, the type, module and script. So copy this one and replace this. Fine. Let's run the command npm install. We just copied the dependencies needed, and we are just installing the dependencies needed. That's all we are doing, and this is a command that will run your server. Okay, so let's build a file called server.js, and we need to change this as well, server.js. Let's come here. We also need to keep in mind that our server folder must be inside our server file must be inside our server folder. I accidentally created it outside the server folder, so just keep in mind we need to create the server.js file inside our server folder. Let's continue with our imports. So we are done with our imports now. Next stuff we have to do is just go to your browser and open up openai.com/product. openai.com/product. Click on get started, and this will ask you to log in. Yeah, so we just need to log in first. And after you log in, you will see this kind of web page. Just go to this personal field and click on this view API's keys. I have a bunch of keys created here, so what you need to do is you need to click on this create a new secret key and copy this one, and come down to the server folder, create a new file called .env, and we need to set up our OpenAI API key right here. OpenAI API key equals, just paste the API key we copied from the web page, save it and go back to server folder, server file, and right here .env.config, and somewhat like this. So const configuration equals new configuration, and we need to pass in the API key. So API key will be process.env dot whatever name you have, whatever name you chose to write, whatever name you chose, just copy the name and come back and paste it. Yeah, so I think this is fine. Let's check if everything is fine or not. So let's console.log our configuration and see if. So in order to check if this is working fine, what you need to do is in the server folder just write node and server.js. Yeah, so this is printing something. So this is printing, configuration is printing our API key and a bunch of other values, so it means this is working fine. So now that we have set up our API key, now let's create an instance of it. So const now that we have created our express server, what we need to do is we need to create, or we need to actually listen to the server. So app.listen on port 5000, and we can give it a console.log. What you can do is you can write npm start and it will start off the server. I believe, yeah, it's working fine. Now our Express app is all set up. We need to actually create a route, a post route, where we can accept the prompt and we will return the OpenAI reply to the user. So let's create an Express post route. So app.post. Okay, so allow me to explain this a little bit. What we can do is, for now, we can just console.log somewhat like hello. So what this all means is, if you go to localhost 5000, well, you see this one. But if you go to the terminal, okay, so we do not see anything on the terminal because it's a post route. We need to give it a get route. Now if you again refresh, you will see a hello here. The reason being, we made a get request. So now that we have our server set up, we need to create a post route where we can send our prompts, and based on those prompts, the OpenAI model will return responses respectively. So let's create a post route. So allow me to explain what we are doing right here. So we just created a try catch block. So in case of any error, we can catch the error and debug it. Sending the prompt. This is the give me a second please. This is the prompt I am talking about. Whatever the user types in the input bar of ChatGPT clone. So this will be our prompt. So as the user gives the prompt, we need to catch that prompt and we need to pass it to OpenAI API. I will show you how we can do this, but for now, to test if everything is working fine on each stage, let's just console log this prompt and see if we can get anything on the terminal right here. Just like we saw hello, let's see if we can get anything. So for this, if you have a tool called Postman, and I suggest you to have this tool, it will help you as a web developer. So let's open up Postman. If you don't have, you can download it for free. Just write in download Postman, and yeah, so you can get it for free here. But I don't think you need to do this. So the URL will be http://localhost 5000. If you want to test, just click on this body, and you can do somewhat like this. Prompt, you can pass anything like hello world. Let's send this, and let's check if we get anything on the terminal. Yeah, so we get hello world, whatever we passed. So everything is working fine. Now we can close this Postman. Since everything is working fine, let's go back to OpenAI page and click on get started. We need to again log in, so let's log in first. and select this one, natural language to OpenAI API. Click on open in playground, and for the model here, click on text DaVinci 3. So far this one is the best model you can have, and rest everything is fine. So let's click on view code. You need to copy this exactly. Yeah, close, go back to VS Code and paste. Instead of this prompt, what we can do is we can take our prompt and pass it in here, and rest everything is fine. We can remove the stop, and you can change this max tokens to 200 in order to create a more sensible answer. And let's console.log response. Now that we have a valid response, we can send this response back to the front end. So response dot status, a status of 200 means everything worked fine and we have something to return. So we can send our response. So we can send our response in this particular case somewhat like this. Let's go back to Postman. Let's go to body, and in the prompt section let's ask something reasonable. So let's ask what is metaverse. Let's send this and see if we get anything. Okay, we are getting a more sensible answer. Yeah, so it means everything is working fine. Great. Now we are sending response, and in case of any error, what we can do is send a status code of 500. So status code of 500 means there was something wrong or internal server error while sending the response. So we will just send the error back. Fine, I think our server is complete. Yeah, our server is finished. So let's go to our client folder. Now we can close these files. Let's go to client folder and open terminal. You can open a new terminal. Make sure you have this server running, and in another terminal make sure you go to client folder, and let's create a new React app. npx create React app, and / will make sure that the app is created in this folder. Now let's wait for it to download and build up. So our packages are downloaded now. Let's hit npm start and start our app. So this will open up our app in the browser. We need to clean the app. There are a bunch of files that we do not need, so simply select these files and simply delete. In the app.css, remove everything. In the index.css, Let's keep it for now, but in the app.js remove everything. You can delete the index.css file, we do not need it now. So in the index.js remove this line because it will give you errors. Remove this line as well. And in the public folder you can remove these logos as well. We do not need them. Okay, fine. Now what you can do is just we have an error. Go to index.js and remove this line index.css. This will remove our error, I think. Yeah, so our error is gone. Okay, so let's write something in here. Yeah, it's working fine. Now next up what you need to do is come back to the GitHub repository and go to the client folder, and inside of source folder you will find a app.css file. Just copy the code. This is very basic CSS. We will not waste much time on this. This is actually very simple, just 100 lines of code, and all we are doing is giving the margins and all those things. Just copy the code and go back to VS Code. In the app.css let's paste this and it will be fine. So let's start off by creating the basic structure of our clone. So let's start by assigning some class names, and yeah, let's do it. What we need to do is we need to install a package called React Icons, so we can use certain icons in our app. Simply hit npm install React Icons. I actually downloaded the React Icons in wrong folder, so before installing make sure you are in correct folder. So the folder should be client, and now run npm install React Icons. So we have our package installed. Now we need to import a few of icons. Let's import those. Now we need to do is come to the button and copy this one, rise and plain fill, and paste it right here. We need to create 3 variables, so let's do so. We need to create actually 3 state variables more precisely, so let's create them. So what these variables means is in the prompt variable we will be storing the input by user. So okay, we have an error here. We have a typo, right? fail. So the spelling was wrong when you need to add an L and replace right here as well. Now it's fine. Okay, and make sure this button should be inside a form. Let's refresh. Okay, so it's fine. So what I was talking about is this prompt variable. This prompt variable will contain whatever the user inputs, and this conversation array will contain all of the prompts and responses. So the prompts given by user and the responses given by OpenAI trained model. And this loading variable means is when we send the prompt, it will take some time for the server to respond. So in that case we need to show something to the user. So this is what this loading variable means. Now that we have basic structure ready, we can move forward, and let's come back to this input tag and let's set up the prompt variable. So what this line of code means is we are assigning the value of prompt to this input tag, and we are actually catching if there is any change. And so if there is any change in this input field, this one, this will actually assign this value to the prompt variable, right? And if we have a response which is to be awaited, which means when the loading is true, and or if we do not have any prompt, so what this will do is it will disable this button that you cannot send anything, right? So this is what this line of code meant. Now we move forward to creating the actual function that will send the prompt to the server, and we will get the response back. So let's create a function that will handle the sending of prompt and receiving of responses. So in order to get the response from server, we will create another function. This is where we make an API call to the backend. So let's create another function. So this was all we needed to do in order to get the response from server. Now let's call this function and pass the prompt. In case of any errors, we want to show to the user that there was something wrong. So let's set a message for that. So this was all needed to be done in order to get the response from server. Now in order to test things, that if everything is working fine or not, first of all what we need to do is we need to call this handle query submit function whenever the user submits or whenever the user inputs the field. So on submit, let's call this function. Fine. So now we have to monitor this conversation array. So let's make a use effect function. This is a temporary block of code that I just want to show you what is happening inside of this conversation array. So whenever the conversation array changes, we will be printing this thing. Let's go back and open up the inspector, go to console, let's refresh. So currently the conversation array is completely empty. So let's type explain metaverse. Okay, we have something, and look, we have a response. Great. Okay, so we actually missed a line of code here. Copy this set loading false and paste it right here as well. Now if we refresh and let's give it a prompt. So explain metaverse. Let's yeah. So we have the query and the response. The query, the question we asked for, and the response is the OpenAI giving us the responses. So let's ask another question. What is pi? Yeah. So we have query response, query response. So this is how the conversation array looks like. It will have all the queries and the responses, and we will use this array. We will map over this array to print all the conversation. This is what I wanted to show you. So let's map over the conversation array and print everything we have. We will be using this conversation container in order to show the conversations. Okay, so let's start off by simply first checking if we have anything. So if we do not have any queries, what we will do is we will show a simple message like ask me anything. So let's implement that. Okay, so we need to set up one more thing. Go back to the GitHub repository, and so click on this client folder and go to source. Click on this ChatGPT icon. Simply copy the code. You can click this button to copy the code. Copy the code. Go to source. Create a file. Let's name it ChatGPT icon .svg. Paste the code, save, go back to app.js, and let's import that. Okay, so looks like we have something wrong in here. Just go back to app.css and type in dot query container and give a space, and then type in img, and then type in max width to be 25 pixels and margin right to be 0.5 rem. This will fix up the problem. So now we can move ahead. So now let's display all the conversations that we have with the bot. So conversations.map, I think we are done with this mapping. So what we are doing here is we are separating things on the basis of if the element in conversation array is a query or if the element is a response. So if it is a query, then we will show let me show you an example. So explain solar system. We are basically differentiating on the basis of that if this line of sentence is a query or if this line of sentence is a response. So yes, it is a response, and yes, it is a query which will be given by user. So if it is a query, then it must show the user's picture or anything relative to the user. So I prefer to choose this person icon. You can use anything you want, and this is the logo of ChatGPT. So this is the basic framework that I wanted you to explain. So yeah, let's move ahead, and now we will be implementing this loading system. You see, whenever we type something like explain computers, so it does not have any loading or anything like that. This is where we will be using this loading variable. So let's do this. We are done with our loading. Let's see if it works. So explain mammals. Yeah, so this is a very simple combination of dots. You can also implement a kind of circle animation, and you just need to replace this with an image or something like that, and it will be fine. So yeah, I think this is complete. This was a very simple and basic tutorial. Let me know what you think about this, and we will be definitely creating more videos like this one. And I will definitely try my 100% to make those videos. So thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.